Thanks, Corina. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this special track of FOSFOR-G 2023. This is called Open Source Geospatial Made in Europe, and it's co-organized by the European Commission and FOSFOR-G and OSGeo. It is actually the third consecutive year we are organizing this track, and we are partnering. This is a screenshot taken from the FOSFOR-G 2023 website. I think this reflects very well how much some of the core values of the Commission, like openness and transparency, collaboration, reuse, are really aligned with the values of open source software and open source communities in general. Just in case you don't know, the Commission is a very strong supporter of open source user, but also contributor to open source software. We have an open source software strategy in place at the Commission that is important because it really gives the objectives, the political objectives of the Commission as an organization to open source seen as a working culture. So open source, according to the strategy, promotes innovation, increases trust in public services, open source increases security, increases technological sovereignty, which is very important for Europe. And you will hear today, because this track will run for the whole duration of the day in this room, you will hear about many European policy initiatives that actually leverage open source software, geospatial software, but also more in general, open geospatial data and open approaches in general. So this is how the track is organized. There will be 3 sessions. So one is now, the one at the top, and then 2 after lunch. We try to build a program that will be as rich and as diverse as possible in terms of topics, in terms of speakers. You will hear about, for example, data sharing initiatives in place in Europe, in the environmental, but also in the mobility fields. You will hear about Earth observation initiatives. You will hear about the reuse of some European services, like Copernicus services. And then we will have a last session today that will be dedicated to some specific standards and European open source implementations of those standards. So that was just to give a brief introduction on the session. I hope you will enjoy it. And with that, I will just move to the first talk. That is actually the first talk of the whole track given by me on behalf of my colleagues at the Commission, Alex Kotzer and Jordi Estrio that work with me at the GRC, and Yuri Romrek that works and the Director General for the Environment. So I will speak about data sharing, I will speak about data spaces, green deal data space in particular, and how open source software contributes to that. And I start from the European Strategy for Data. This is a very important document published by the Commission in 2020, which sets the vision for Europe to become a leader in our data-driven society. The idea is to create a European single market for data that could make sense of the huge amounts of available data in Europe, to first of all address a set of problems, identify like the availability of data, interoperability, quality, governance, infrastructures, skills, data literacy, cybersecurity, you name them. And the final objective is really to establish a kind of a data sharing environment that could be trustworthy, that could be sovereign, that could be fair in a way where data could be easily used within each sector and across all sectors in respect of EU values and principles, and of course to benefit the society and the economy in Europe. This is the vision for the so-called common European data space. To realize it, the idea is to build sectoral data spaces in all strategic societal sectors. So we will have a European Green Deal data space focused on environmental data sharing and agricultural data space, for agricultural data sharing and mobility data space, and so on and so forth. And they are about 10 in total. Now, to support the establishment of data spaces, the Commission has put forward some horizontal legislative measures that are listed here. I will go quite quickly because I do not have so much time. These are the Data Governance Act, the Digital Markets Act, the Implementing Act on high-value datasets under the Open Data Directive. This I will zoom a bit later because it's quite important for geospatial data sharing, and the Data Act. What is important to remember here is that the data in scope of data spaces is not just data from the public sector, but it's data from all European stakeholders. So business sector, researchers, academia, but also individuals and civil society organizations. That's the first point. And the second is that overall, to summarize, all these horizontal legislative measures aimed to regulate the data sharing flows that are supposed to happen in data spaces. So government to business, for example, business to government, citizen to government, etc. Now, a zoom on the implementing icon high-level datasets. This is called like that because it implements the Open Data Directive. That is a directive from 2019, which aims to unlock public sector data. So this is about public sector. And this directive defines, first of all, high-level datasets as datasets the use of which holds the potential to bring important benefits to the European economy and society. So these are particularly important datasets, and as such, the directive requires member states, public sector bodies to make them available for free as open data in machine-readable formats via APIs to ensure machine-to-machine communication and, when relevant, as a bulk download. The directive defines 6 categories of high-value datasets, and these are geospatial, Earth observation and environment, meteorological, statistics, companies and company ownership and mobility, but it didn't define the actual list of datasets. This was left to the implementing act that came after a long process this year, so it was adopted in February this year. It defines the actual list of datasets, and I will come to that in the next slide, but also the requirements for the provision of these datasets. The license, first of all, this shall be CC BY 4.0, CC0, or any equivalent or less restricted license, but also the key attributes of the data, the formats that shall be machine readable. As I said, there are requirements on metadata, there are requirements on granularity for the geospatial datasets, etc. This is the list of datasets, or at least the list of datasets for the categories that include geospatial datasets. 4 out of the 6 categories include geospatial datasets. Here I want just to emphasize the fact that this list was defined after a very long process that involved Commission services, of course, but also several other European stakeholders from the public sector, from the business sector, from academia, from civil society organizations, etc. And clearly, this list of datasets and the provision, the requirements for the provision of the datasets were defined in order to leverage on already existing legislation in order not to add burden for the member states. In particular on INSPIRE, I will say something later about INSPIRE, but INSPIRE is basically the directive for European spatial data infrastructure. You may notice that for the geospatial, Earth observation and environment and mobility, the datasets correspond one-to-one to, let's say, a huge subset of the INSPIRE data feeds. So there is a good overlap in terms of scope, which means that from the point of view of INSPIRE, this implementing act adds a kind of an open data requirement on top of the already existing INSPIRE requirements. Now, to support and set up the development of data spaces, the Commission is also funding additional actions and also to engage stakeholders. The first one is the Data Spaces Support Center. This is a consortium that is tasked to coordinate for 3 years and a half, starting in October last year, all activities on sectoral data spaces in Europe. So this consortium has as deliverables to produce a blueprint, to produce best practices, common standards and building blocks, support activities like help desk, toolboxes, web portals, and knowledge transfer actions. Then, to fund and to support each single sectoral data space, so each of the 10, the Commission is funding so-called coordination and support actions. They have the purpose to prepare the future implementation and deployment of the data space, and they have to create a community of practice, identify the priority data sets for that data space. They have stakeholder engagement actions. They will have to conceptualize the governance model and provide a roadmap for the data space. Finally, an important role will be also played by this European Data Innovation Board. This is defined in the Data Governance Act. That was one of the horizontal policy measures I presented before. It is basically an extra group that will be tasked to advise the Commission on topics related to standards, to interoperability requirements. What is important? This will be formally established in September, but the deadline for application is tomorrow. So, in case you are an expert on standards, on data sharing, on interoperability, or someone else in your organization, please consider to apply. There is still time until tomorrow. The link is there, but of course you can ask me. Now, as Cordelia was saying before, the GRC is the operational, the scientific, and technical arm of the European Commission. In particular, in our unit, the Digital Economy Unit, we have a long-standing experience in data sharing, including geospatial data sharing, environmental data sharing. This is mainly because of the 15 years of coordination of the INSPIRE Directive, and this is exactly why we are supporting the commission of several activities around data sharing and data spaces. So you see here many reports that we have recently published, but I would like to zoom into one of them because it's the most recent one. It was published a couple of weeks ago. It's a science for policy report, which means it should inform an audience of policymakers, decision makers, and in addition to more technical people. It was authored by several people from 3 different JRC units, so quite a huge work. And it's important because in a way it distills all our knowledge coming from several years of scientific experiences, hands-on experience on data sharing. So what can you find here? First of all, we try to clarify the concept of a data space. We try to come up with a list of requirements for data spaces deriving from the policy documents published by the Commission. We came up with a list of how-tos, which are kind of recipes that provide our perspective on a set of topics or matters related to data spaces from the technical and the organizational perspective. For example, we try to answer questions such as, what is the best software stack that I should choose for my data space? And here clearly we point to the preference for open source, the preference for software that have a mature community of users, developers, etc. Or how can I choose the most appropriate standards for my data space? Or how can I ensure that personal data are protected in a data space? Things like that. Then we created a wiki on data spaces that is supposed to be our evolving knowledge base on data spaces. So this is meant to be a living document. We also produced a dashboard that allows you to filter all JRC publications on data sharing based on each of the identified requirements as well as a set of keywords. Of course, no time to show this, but you have all the links in the slide. Now, in addition to producing scientific knowledge, of course, we partner, we regularly exchange knowledge with several other organizations that are active in data sharing, and geospatial data sharing in particular. We have, of course, Geo here as the organization representative of geospatial open source communities. We regularly interact with Geoportal. We have OGC here, we have a collaborative research agreement with them. ISO, you see here many other organizations active in data spaces, for example, like GaiaX or in Earth observation, and these are all our partners. Then zooming more specifically on the Green Deal data space, so the data space for environmental data sharing. Again, you find again the GREAT logo. This is the coordination and support action that I mentioned before. But you see many other logos here of EU funding projects that really have a lot to offer to the European Green Deal data space. These are funded by the Commission through different programs. What is important is that many people and many organizations from the consortia of this project are here at the FOSFOR-G, which means open source software has a prominent role to play in all this project, which of course we are very happy to hear. Now, back to INSPIRE. This is of course our main contribution to the envisioned future Green Deal data space. What is INSPIRE? For those of you who are less familiar, as I said before, is a directive. It's in force since 2007, and it aims to create a framework, a legal, technical, and organizational framework to establish a pan-European spatial data infrastructure to support environmental policy. So it's an environmental directive. So in a nutshell, INSPIRE provides requirements on metadata, so to discover the data, network services, to share the data, and data models to ensure data interoperability. What is important is that we, again, our unit at the GFC is coordinating this huge effort from the technical point of view. So we really coordinate and maintain the infrastructure. As I said, the directive is in force since 2007, so you may easily understand that the technological landscape at that time was very different than the one we have today. So what we are working on, especially in the last few years, is to come up with approaches to modernize the INSPIRE infrastructure, mainly from the technical point of view. Here is, and of course, to make it fit for contributing to the European Green Deal. Here is a list of some achievements. First of all, the inclusion of new standards and new technologies through the concept of INSPIRE good practices. For example, member states can now share their data using modern encoding such as GeoJSON or GeoPackage. In initially it was just GML. And of course, we don't like GML too much today. Modern data sharing standards, similarly, now OGC API features, OGC sensor links API are already good practices, but many others are under development. This is really community-based approach. Similarly, we introduced some governance, some community-driven governance approaches to modernize, to update infrastructure. So this is true for the good practices, but also for what we call the artifacts, the INSPIRE technical guidelines, the schemas, and the data models. So if anyone wants to propose a change, they can do that. There is a governance approach that tells exactly who should do what, who has to propose, how to promote it, who should endorse, etc., etc. Now, we were able also to move to a fully open source infrastructure, and then design later on. And finally, we also established over the many years a mature, a solid community, which of course has nothing to do with the technical infrastructure, but is the foundation of the social infrastructure. And we believe the social infrastructure is as important as the technical one. Now, on the left-hand side, you see another Science for Policy report. This was published 1.5 years ago, so it's still very relevant. It's where we presented our lessons learned after 15 years of INSPIRE and what is our vision for the future of the infrastructure. I have some paper copies of this report, so I will leave them there. You can take them after the talk. And my talk last year at FOSS4G was exactly about this. Now, technological stack. Here you see what we call the three central INSPIRE infrastructure components. So the three tools that we maintain, we operate, and that the member states use on a daily basis to implement INSPIRE. From the left to the right, INSPIRE Geoportal. This is the place that provides access to all the data shared by member states. We are speaking about 100,000 datasets approximately. The INSPIRE Reference Validator in the middle, this offers tests to check the compliance of the INSPIRE sources against the requirements. And on the right, the INSPIRE Registry that manages all INSPIRE identifiers. What is important to say here is that they are all based on open source software. And now from right to left, the INSPIRE Registry is based on the registry, open source software. The Validator is based on the ETF, validation framework. And we have recently migrated the backend of the INSPIRE Geoportal to GeoNetwork, open source. I would like to mention, especially the case of the registry software, this was initially developed exactly for INSPIRE. Some years ago we decided to release it as open source, and today it is widely used by member states, public sector bodies, but also by some private companies, some other organizations. So I think this is a very good example of how a legal initiative like INSPIRE has acted as a catalyst for innovation. Something more here, the ETF and the registry, which are the two software tools that we support and contribute to, are also present in the OGC APIs, just in case you don't know, and the ETF since September last year has become the Geo community project. Of course, also GeoNetwork is, but GeoNetwork is really a much older software. Now, final slide is about the future of INSPIRE, so I'll come back a bit to the policy context, but this time about INSPIRE. There has been an evaluation of the directive that was completed last year. This well, on the one hand, it confirms some improvements in the number and amount of data that are available and are accessible, so definitely there has been an improvement, but on the other hand, some issues are still present. And hence there's a need for a revision of INSPIRE. It's actually not only a revision of INSPIRE, but also of another old directive that is called the Public Access to Environmental Information Directive. This is even older than INSPIRE. So there will be a revision of the whole legal framework around environmental data sharing, and this is really to support the European Green Deal data space. So what is the situation now? The situation is that there are a number of policy options currently being discussed. Once formalized, they will be evaluated in an impact assessment. So this is the kind of study where for each policy option, so the pros and the cons, the impact from the economical, technical, social, environmental perspective are evaluated, and then one will be chosen. So this policy option will try to answer questions on the data scope. So they might be different in terms of the data scope. For example, should we again stick to geospatial data only, or going beyond on geospatial data, Should we stick only to public sector data, or should we also consider data from other stakeholders? Again, remember INSPIRE was from 2007. So things have changed, both in terms of who contributes data today. Alignment with the horizontal legislation I presented before, for example, alignment between INSPIRE or the future INSPIRE and high-value dataset is now the topic of a big discussion. What would be the governance of infrastructure? That's another important point. Today it's only, for those of you with INSPIRE, we have the maintenance and implementation group. It's only public sector members, so it's only member states. No private sector, no standardization bodies, no open source communities. Of course, it would be nice to change that. So a new governance model should be developed, and then how to leverage on the infrastructure that we have been creating over the years. We also published very recently, again 2 weeks ago, GRC policy brief, where we try to throw in some ideas and perspective on how we, GRC, see the evolution of INSPIRE. Anyway, the revised legal framework is expected not before 2025, so it will come under the new Commission, the new European Commission will take office next year, 2024. That is it. Thank you.